Are you a Christian songwriter wishing you could be heard by the right people in Nashville? Yeah, we get it. You've been writing for years, but you have no idea how to be heard, how to get your songs out there, or how to connect your talent with opportunities. You feel stuck and wonder if you'll ever get a real break. NCS Bootcamp is your chance to be heard by taking your songwriting to a level you've only dreamed of. It gives you hands-on, personalized coaching and mentoring to help you think and write like a professional Christian songwriter determined to impact the world with your songs. If you're ready to empower your songwriting dreams, go to NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com/bootcamp to book your free songwriting breakthrough strategy call today. Become the songwriter you were born to be with NCS Bootcamp.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Song Revolution podcast, brought to you by Nashville Christian Songwriters. Nashville Christian Songwriters exists to empower Christian songwriters worldwide. I'm John Chisum, and this podcast exists to bring you valuable songwriting insights, inspiration, interviews, and just all around good fun with some of the greatest songwriters, producers, arrangers, artists, and creatives, and beyond. You can find out a whole lot more about us at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com. Hey everybody, John Chisum back here on the Song Revolution podcast. I don't take it for granted that you take some time out of your day to spend with me and our guest and to just get more inspiration and more information and hopefully just a lot of maybe motivation to complete your calling in the earth for this little bitty time span that we have, to fulfill this call. I hope that we are helping you along the way. I like to say it a lot because Nashville Christian Songwriters exists to empower Christian songwriters worldwide. And that came out of my own life. We moved here in 1983 to take a job that wound up not working out. And we had $40, no place to live. We didn't wind up, living under the overpass, my wife and I, but we did wind up living with people, kind of couch surfing for a while before that was popular, I guess. And it was just a crazy time. But within a month or so, I had met Bill Gaither and Gary McSpadden. They signed me almost sight unseen to a brand new publishing company that they were developing called Arios Music. And I wound up getting about 19 songs published my first year and worked my way up to vice president of publishing for Star Song Records, and then wound up working for a number of years with Integrity Music, managing 18 full-time songwriters, including some amazing people that have written songs that have changed the world. And I've had the privilege of recording. I think I've recorded a dozen albums of my own material. I've had over 400 songs recorded. And now this is my season. This is my time to download all of the experience, all of the expertise, and the encouragement. I'm just a pastor teacher. I just love people. But I get to download this into you through the Song Revolution podcast and all the great things that we offer here at Nashville Christian Songwriters. We just had our second NCS Weekend Songwriting Intensive here in Nashville when was that? March 1, 2, 3. We had our first one back in November, and it was fantastic. We had 13 songwriters come to that one. We had 26 come to the one we just did, the 1st of March. We had songwriters from Norway and New Zealand, from Canada, and from all over America. And it was just a fabulous time. And we had some of the best people show up at this thing. We had Tom Jackson, and Tom is the preeminent live music producer, and he's produced 3 tours for Taylor Swift, for crying out loud, and every major Christian artist has used Tom Jackson. And he came by and did a session for us. Chrissy Nordoff, who has written Your Great Name with Michael Neal and with many other, and has written many, many other songs that are being sung all over the world. She's an Integrity Music songwriter, and she came by and did a session for us. We had just crazy, amazing people. John Mays and Matt Ewald, who are A&R directors at Centricity Music, and they publish and record people like Lauren Daigle, Jason Gray, Johnny Diaz, Andrew Peterson, and many, many more. So it was just off the chains, fantastic. We're doing another one in June, so watch for our promotion on that, and we hope that you can come join us live here in Nashville for and NCS Weekend Intensive. I think it's going to be life-changing. It's transformational. Most of what we do is online. We have our NCS membership. We do our premium boot camp, which is 8 weeks of intense personal coaching. That's for people who are ready to fast track and ramp up their songwriting to the highest possible level. And you can find out about that by just sending us an email at info@NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com. But we offer a plethora of things. We have our podcast is absolutely free. We love to offer that. There's over 50 hours of inspiration, information, and interviews with great people like John Mays, like Tim Timmons, Jenny Owens. Who else? My goodness, I can't even remember. There's so many fabulous people. Randy Cox, Mike Harland, who's the director of Lifeway Worship. Amazing man, amazing ministry, just amazing stuff going on there. So we're here to serve you. We're here to be a resource and encouragement and a great community. And so this podcast is all about resourcing you as well. And so we're in part 2 of a new little 5-part series that I wanted to do called 5 Tips for Writing Hit Hooks. This was out of an article that I wrote back in September for Gear, Tech, and Recording magazine. It's a pretty high quality thing. It's only online now, because, man, I think they spent $1 million just on their printing costs, because this paper of this magazine I'm holding in my hand is so incredible. It's like premium stuff, but I'm looking at it, and I was in the first issue. It's all online, and all you have to do is go to geartechrec.com. That's GearTechRec.com, geartechrec.com. And I was in the issue with people like Metallica's Kirk Hammett, Alan Parsons, Megan Trainor, and a bunch of people. It was really fun. And it's not aimed necessarily at a Christian audience, but it is a bunch of Christians doing the thing. And they also do Worship Musician magazine. They're just great people. I'll do a big shout out for Bruce Adolph and the great people there who, they're just great people. They love Jesus, and they're putting out some great stuff. And man, this is just a fantastic magazine. So I got to write one of the first articles in it, 5 tips for writing hit hooks. And so I want to start today. I want just to recap just briefly, because in the first episode, if you didn't get that, you can go back and look in the listing here in the Song Revolution podcast. But I talked about an equation that I try to drill into anyone that I get to work with as a songwriter. And that is that a great song begins with a great idea. The level of your song, people, listen to me, will never exceed the level of your idea. If you've got a stinker of an idea, your song's not going to turn out great unless somehow that stinky idea morphs into something as you write it. But if you start at a very low level, you're never going to reach great heights with a song idea. So you've got to realize that and spend more time working on your song ideas. I just want to encourage you, if you're looking at a phrase that you're thinking about turning into a song, and you've heard that phrase in about 4,000 other Christian songs, don't write it, or find a way to flip it. Find something to invert. Find something that would make that idea fresh for people, because that's a real mark of a mature songwriter, someone who can take something that is as old as dirt and make it fresh and new. I think it's just a real key. So you've got to start with a great idea. The next thing that you need is a great hook. So I've had people ask me, what is a hook? Well, a hook is the embodiment of your theme. Sometimes it's one word, but most of the time it's a series of words, right? Like stop in the name of love, or something like that, right? Or John Mayer's slow dancing in a burning room, right? So it's a phrase. It's something that captures the essence of your idea. Okay, I talk a lot about writing from the essence of an idea. A lot of times writers just sit down and their heads are empty. They've not been spending any time reading or resourcing their soul. And so they really don't have anything to say. They're just writing because they want to write, and they're passionate. They say they're passionate and they're called to write. And so they sit down and write, but they haven't done anything about pre-writing. They've not been filling themselves with any great ideas. So if you're going to have a great song, you got to start with a great idea, and then come somehow to a great hook that captures the theme, captures the essence. It's like it should be the one phrase that everybody remembers and knows exactly what your song is about. How great is our God? In Christ alone. Lord, I need you. Holy Spirit, that's a little misleading because, it's like the name of one of the persons of the Trinity. So that's a little odd, okay, but, it's a great song anyway. So there are exceptions to every rule, but 99.9999999%, you've just got to have a great idea that's developed into a great hook and then to a great lyric coupled with a great melody, and that's the equation for a great song. So in this series, I wanted to talk, I started with that in the last episode, and in the next few, I'm going to talk about memorability, emotion, universality, imagery, and simplicity. So how many episodes is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to have to do 6. Okay, well, maybe that'll help you. So memorability, I think that we just actually know intuitively what's memorable because we don't have any problem remembering certain hooks. And I think that there are a couple of key elements that can help your hooks be memorable. First of all, I think there is something to say about originality, but originality and creativity, let's try to couple those together just for a minute. And I know that's not even in my article. That's not even what I intended to talk about, but I think it's important because a lot of times people think that creativity or originality is when you sit down and you bring something out of nothing, right? I was talking a moment ago about writing just out of emptiness, writing out of an empty head. And in Latin, there's a phrase, ex nihilo, and that's 2 words, ex, and then the word nihilo, ex nihilo. And what it means is out of nothing. And God is the only one who has ever created out of nothing. He's the one that said, let there be, and there was. He's the only one that can do that. And so in our closed ecosystem, what we have to do, creativity for us, means the joining together of things that have never been together before. What it really means is that we take something that hasn't worked or hasn't been joined necessarily with something else, and we put them together. And words are like that. Words, writing songs is like a puzzle. And so when you can pull words that have never really worked together before and put them together and make something fresh and new, that's creativity. We're not creating something out of nothing, ex nihilo. We are bringing together disparate elements that might not have ever been together and creating something fresh. And that's the mark of a mature writer, when you can be creative in that way, right? And we see it in the marketplace all the time, where people come up with new versions of something. Like they combine, I remember when tinted glasses, like glasses that would tint on their own, right? Because we used to have to trade out glasses. We'd have our reading glasses that we wear inside, and then if we wanted to be outside, we had to put on sunglasses, and if we wanted to read, we had to have tinted reading glasses. But now, this has been around for decades, right? But it was kind of the same idea that I'm going for here, is that somebody thought of, well, why can't we create glass that when you get in certain kinds of light, it just tints automatically? So that was the joining of two things that had never existed before. And there are other many, many, many examples, and you can look around. But that's the way it works in wordsmithing or word crafting, is when you learn, you're so clued in to the power of words that you join things in a fresh, new way, and that's creativity, right? And so, or originality in one level. So when you exercise those elements, then the result should be memorability. I don't think that memorability is as elusive as some people think, because you actually know intuitively what's memorable. You just don't really have any problem remembering certain hooks. And so, these elements that I talk about in this article and I'm going to be talking about in this podcast help you to make your hooks more memorable. When you start down that path, you're going to start asking better questions about your hook. Here are some great questions. Is this hook or this title unique. Now, most of the time, your hook is your title. Not always, but most of the time, 99%, your hook is your title. And so you have to ask yourself, is this unique? Does it stand out? Because as Christian songwriters, and especially worship writers, if you write a song called In Your Presence, well, guess what? We have a whole bunch of those, and so it's not going to really stand out. So you've got to find some other way to convey the thought of being in the presence of God. You're going to have to do that, or no one's going to pay attention to your song. Writing worship songs is much harder than anybody can ever imagine. Is this hook too long? Is it just too many words? Have I written a book of a hook, and is there a way that I can chop it down? And when I'm working with clients, often I'll pull one or two words out of a very lengthy hook to help them see, okay, you don't have to have a whole sentence. We're not writing prose. We're writing lyrics here. The next question, I think I kind of said this a minute ago, is there anything that stands out from a million other songs, or have I used overly familiar phrases, ideas, and words? I think if you'll start asking yourself better questions, you will write better hooks. You'll write better songs. You won't even spend time on a stinky hook, because you'll know intuitively when you've disciplined yourself to ask yourself these questions. You won't be writing juvenile songs and thinking that Nashville publishers ought to be falling at your feet. It just doesn't work like that. You can't write Moon June rhymes. You can't write, just basic beginning songs and expect anybody to pay attention. So if you're serious about this thing, you've got to learn how to think like a professional songwriter. If you expect to compete, this is a highly competitive town. Let me tell you, every restaurant you go into, you've got wait staff that are songwriters, singer-songwriters. It's just how this town runs. The Uber drivers, they're songwriters, they're artists, they're aspiring people, right? And good on them, and God bless them. I'm not critical of that. That's fantastic. I did odd jobs when I was learning how to write songs. I wish we'd had Uber back then, but we didn't. But my whole point is, if you're going to really rise to a commercial song level, you're going to have to start thinking about these things and get off of your blessed assurance thinking that God's just going to show up somehow and make you this big hit, when you're not even in the mix. You're not even here. You're not even mixing it up with anybody who's doing this. And you're thinking God's going to helicopter you in and just drop you in the middle of some big Nashville studio on Music Row, and they're going to fawn over your songs. No, you've got to compete. You got to bootstrap this thing. You've got to pull your attitude up to a higher level. You got to pull your mindset up to a higher level if you expect to compete with professional songwriters. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to equip you. I'm trying to give you all this stuff, that I deal even with my boot camp clients. So they hear me talk about this all the time, and they get to interact with me, and I'm critiquing their stuff all the time and helping them grow quickly, the ones that want to do that, right? And it's the same principles, but the difference is I'm interacting directly with their songs. And so they have that, that huge advantage. But my whole point, sorry I went on a rant there, is that if you'll ask better questions, you'll write better songs. So let me give you another real quick tip about how to write hooky hooks. And that is, this is a deceptively simple device that dictates the upward direction of a hook, and that's alliteration. Now, you might not have been an English major, and that's okay. You might not know about poetic devices, and that's okay. But you are being sold stuff every single day by the simple device of alliteration. The hookiest songs, the hookiest commercials, even the names of cars are alliterated and hooky. And all the word alliteration means, if you're unfamiliar with that, is that there are a certain letter is used more than once in a phrase or even within a word, right? So when your eyes are open to this, you'll start seeing it everywhere. But alliteration it can be assonance or consonants. Consonants is when a consonant, like a C, a D, anything that's not a vowel is repeated. Or assonance is when a vowel is repeated, right? And they're both alliterative, they're both alliteration, but it just depends on whether it's a consonant or a vowel. And so one song that you might remember is Meghan Trainor. She's on the opposite page of this magazine where my article is, so we'll go ahead and use her. But her famous hit, All About That Bass, right? No trouble. So, regardless of your opinion of that song, whether you think it's offensive or not, that's not even the point here. So don't send me hate mail because I'm using a song about a body part on my podcast here. But, regardless of your opinion, that is a memorable hook. I mean, check out all of the A's, B's, and the T's, all about that bass. All those A's, all, A-L-L, about, A-B-O-U-T, that, T-H-A-T, B-A-S-S, right? Every word had an A, all about that bass. But it also had a lot of B's, all about that bass. So 2 B's, right? How many T's, all about that bass, right? It's only 2. It seems like a lot anyway. So anyway, it's just crazy hooky, right? It's just a simple poetic device, but it can do a world of good for your hooks. I mean, if you can learn that from a ditty, it put her on the map. It's a great story about how she and her producer wrote that. And basically it's a great, it actually is, I think this is a great, I wish I'd remembered this a moment ago when I was talking about creativity, but this is a great example of it. She and her producer, whose name is escaping me at this moment, they were going to write a song, and he brought up the hook. Let's see. All bass, no treble. He had that idea. That was the essence of his idea. And somehow in their conversation, she would say, well, I'm all about that. Now, I'm all about that. And some of us have said that phrase, right? And so the thing is, they put those 2 phrases together, and it became all about that bass and made them millions of dollars. So there you have it, folks. That's the first thing that you've got to begin to think about when you are crafting great hooks, is to think about how can you make that the most memorable hook. And I've just given you a great way to do that, and that's through alliteration. So this is part 2 of, I think, what's going to be 6 episodes about writing hit hooks. So I hope this has been very helpful as we talk about hooks, helpful hints for hooky hooks. There's a bunch of alliteration right there. I love doing this podcast. If you get anything out of it, I'm going to ask you to share it out on all of your social media. Help people know that you have a lot of fun here on the Song Revolution podcast. We're a lot of fun here at Nashville Christian Songwriters. We have great things for free, great things that you can jump into, like our NCS membership. We have another weekend intensive coming up in June 2018, depending on when you happen to be tuning into this podcast. We would love to serve you. Check us out at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com and let us know how we can be of service to you. If you have a question, drop us a note at info at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com, and we are here to serve you. You were born to be heard, and we're here to help. God bless you guys. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time. Hey, what a fantastic show today. I hope you caught all the value bombs that were dropped on this one, and that you'll begin to immediately incorporate them into your songwriting. You can get even more valuable songwriting tools and inspiration when you join NCS membership. You can become a part of a growing community of songwriters from around the world and tap into some of the most powerful resources available to step you up in your songwriting destiny. Check out NCS membership now at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com and get ready for some exponential power to help you fulfill your call to write. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.